And now we are welcoming Jean Bourcereau from Ventech. Yes, and Jean, you will talk with Renaud Laplanche. I think, Renaud, you are in New York now. Can you?
Yes, good afternoon.
Thank you, Renaud. So we are very pleased to welcome you here on the Skype. Thanks to the Skype technology. So we'll talk about Lending Club, your very successful startup. So launched by a French guy in America. So thank you, Jean.
Thank you, Olivier. Renaud, can you actually see me, Renaud, somewhere?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, fantastic. So I have a crowd in front of me that is mostly here not to listen to me, but to listen to you, share your experience as a very successful entrepreneur, French entrepreneur, or European entrepreneur in the US. So maybe just to give a little bit of background. So Lending Club, can you phrase in 1 minute the mission statement of the company?
Right, so Lending Club is an online marketplace that facilitates consumer credit. So it's essentially an alternative to the traditional banking system. Instead of a bank that would collect deposits and turn around and make loans, Lending Club operates as a marketplace. So we have investors on one side, borrowers on the other side, and we facilitate loans between the two sides of the marketplace. And so the reason why it makes sense is that the marketplace operates at a much lower cost than the traditional banking system. And so we can pass on the cost savings to borrowers on one side in the form of a lower interest rate, and to investors on the other side in the form of really attractive returns. So the company is doing well. We're growing at more than 100% a year. We're issuing about $350 million a month now. So it's you can see the volume ramping up and starting to be meaningful even at the scale of the U.S. consumer credit. So if I had to state a mission statement, I think what we're trying to do is really to transform the U.S. banking system and make it more cost efficient, more transparent, and more consumer friendly than it's been so far.
Fantastic. Did you guys actually invent that new way of doing loans?
No, we didn't. Well, actually, I think this way of making loan, which is people lending money to other people, dates from before the banks even existed. I think the banks were a temporary fix over the last few decades to really centralize capital and reallocate it among the people. But I think with the internet and with people becoming more and more comfortable transacting online and really entering into financial transactions, even complex financial transactions online, I think the banks are becoming less necessary now.
Okay, thank you very much. So the theme for our little talk is conquering the world and beyond. So maybe to share your own experience, and I'm sure lots of people would be interested. In your case, it was conquering the US. And so how does it go for a European entrepreneur or foreigner in the US to create a company and to develop it?
So starting in the US for a non-US entrepreneur has its own sets of challenges. So there are the just mundane but really important things like getting a bank account and a social security number and a visa. I mean, all the things you need to do just as a matter of being able to operate. But then there are some more sort of complex, I think, cultural challenges. Like interviewing people and really sort of hiring the team. And I mean, we all know how important the team is in the early days and beyond. So really getting a good read on people when you come from a different background and a different culture is it's really not an easy thing to do, especially in the US, where candidates are really well trained for interviews. and or never as good as the day of the interview. So it has its own challenges. On the flip side, I think it also comes from it also comes with benefits. I believe that not being an American is really one of the things that helped me identify the issue that we're solving with Lending Club in the first place. I think when I opened my credit card statement and realized that if I was going to carry over the balance on my credit card to the next month, I would be paying 18% interest rate. For most Americans, it's a normal thing to do, and it's part of the sort of consumer behavior and consumer habits. When you didn't grow up in that environment, it feels like a very high rate, and it feels like a problem to solve.
Great. So now your company started when, by the way? How many years ago?
So I started Lending Club at the end of 2006, and to answer your previous question, there were already some marketplaces starting to pop up here and there. There was one in the UK called Zopa. There's another in the US called Prosper. I think what Lending Club did really was so being able to get all the pieces right faster than the other players, and that enabled us to grow a lot faster and now have a dominant market share.
Yeah. So started from nothing and rising really fast. So 350 million a month. You're not putting the whole U.S. banking system into bankruptcy, but still, it must hurt, right, for them. So I would say conquering new territories and conquering big markets probably needs some patterns of disruption and technology. So what's your experience of this?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And when you think of the history of technology-based innovation, there are really two models of disruption. One that's very antagonistic and very confrontational with the incumbents, and another model that's more collaborative. I think one really clear example of that is what happened in the music industry with the Napster model of really trying to go against the status quo and the established order, but in a way that was not respectful of existing regulations and not in collaboration with the music industry, and that didn't work out too well. On the flip side, there's what Apple did with iTunes. That was really a sort of very compliant way to go about it, and done in collaboration with the music industry. And I think Apple and others in that space have really transformed the way we consume music, but in a way that associated the music industry to that transformation. And by doing so, I think they made it more likely to be successful. So that's really the way we're approaching our challenge here in the banking industry. We're saying we want to transform the banking system, but we're doing it in a way that's not confrontational with the banks, and we want to associate the banks to that transformation. And we've seen already many banks starting to participate on the platform and really join the party, so to speak. The latest one being a pretty large bank that we've announced last month called Union Bank, which is one of the top 20 banks in the US. They have $100 billion in assets, and they are now a partner of Lending Club, and they participate on the platform. I think when you look at the sort of origins of what we do of peer-to-peer lending and crowdfunding, we're continuing to sort of expand in that category, and we have sort of tens of thousands of very active retail investors. At the same time, we also allow institutions like pension funds and insurance companies, and now banks, to invest on the platform. And I think that approach of being more pragmatic and more collaborative and more inclusive is really helping us grow faster, be more meaningful, and at the end of the day, be more helpful to more people.
But why would they do that? With grooming you know the potential enemy? Is it because you pretended that you're not going to hurt them? Is it to buy you out a bit later?
No, I mean, you know, it's like when you live in an apartment and your upstairs neighbor is having a party and you can't sleep. I mean, there are really two things you can do. You can either complain about it and try to call the police, or you can go upstairs and join the party. I think the banks in the US are increasingly joining the party.
Fantastic. I'm very glad that you didn't say that complaining is the French way. That's really good. But, okay, so just one more question maybe on your past. This is not your first experience as an entrepreneur, right? So what makes you continue to go, you know, one step, two steps, three steps further and conquer new markets and build a bigger company vis-a-vis, you know, selling it and stopping what you've done in your past, right? You've been through M&A processes and stuff.
That's right. So I think it's really based on sort of how well it's going and really the magnitude of the opportunity. I think we all feel here at Landing Club that we can have a big impact on people's financial lives and make an entire industry more efficient, more transparent, and more consumer friendly. And so that's a goal that's very energizing, and that I think transcends sort of other considerations like making money. So I think a lot of the people who work here at Landing Club are really focused on that, on building a very big company, but not for the sake of building a big company, but more for the sake of having a big impact.
Fantastic. And so for all the people that are in the room today, would you say that moving and starting a business directly in the US is a choice you'll make again, or you'd like to start somewhere else and try to expand it?
Yeah, so I can't really compare and contrast because I've never sort of started a company in France and then expanded it in the US or elsewhere. But the process of starting a company in the US is pretty painless, and other than the sort of cultural challenges I mentioned before, I mean, all the sort of administrative steps are very important, and access to capital are really exceptional in many areas in the US, particularly here in Silicon Valley and in San Francisco. There are more sort of venture capital firms here than anywhere else in the world, more venture capital available, but also a lot of talent and an ecosystem that was formed over many years, many decades now, with a lot of entrepreneurs, so starting companies, companies being successful or not, but in both cases, they learned from it. And in the case of a success, a lot of the employees that participated in creating these companies leave after a few years, and they start their own company, they join another company. So there's an ecosystem of innovation and really a talent and a workforce that's well-trained in the process of innovation. And that really helps get things started, I think, in a way that's more that's in a way easier than in other countries.
All right. Renaud, I have a very blunt question from the audience. That is, are you on the IPO route, and how far down that road are you?
Yeah, so I can't answer the question regarding timing, but we do think it's a good idea to take the company public. Not so much for the reasons you typically take a company public, which is either raise capital or get liquidity, because we're profitable and we don't need additional capital. But the Landing Club is a very sort of consumer-facing brand, and we believe an IPO for us would be really an opportunity to continue to build the brand and raise awareness. So a successful IPO can be a really big marketing event, and that's so we believe it'd be a good idea to go down that path. But I can't comment on the timing.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Renaud. I have one last question because Willy from France Digitale, when assembling the program, did put a very intriguing phrase about lending club, saying that someone did borrow some money to buy a Batmobile. So is that a true story?
It is a true story. There are a lot of really interesting stories, both on the consumer side with people sort of borrowing money for building a Batmobile replica or buying a pony or like some other interesting use cases. But also now that we've launched a small business lending platform, there are great stories about entrepreneurship and small business owners borrowing money for their business and for all kinds of businesses.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I think time is up on our side. Thank you very much for your time, Renaud, and for joining from California. Again, congratulations for building that fantastic business. And talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you. It's great to be there.